I am the force of the adversary's failure. I have studied the old ways and reconstructed many of the lost teachings destroyed by the Dark One long ago. His own power works against him through me. For he is known as Sargon of Akkad. To call him by any other name would give him power, correct? Well, through his halls of Amenti he erected as his altar persona Thoth, he bridged the timeline between his era and ours. The emerald tablets his initiates have carried all this time throughout history hold his spirit, making him a poltergeist of sorts. One day I was studying the tablets and my astral eyes saw a diamond-shaped image appear before me. On the other side was Sargon at the moment of his death, and he was trying to cast himself into our time. You see, he and I are connected. He is a future incarnation of me after this lifetime. He had tried to destroy all knowledge of magic during his reign, but I repaired some of the texts and was ready. Knowing that I couldn't step through, I gathered my spells, cloaked them with a tornado I imbued with fire, and cast them through the portal. The twister sat down in front of a sandstorm heading straight for him and his pursuers. They were his elite guards who had staged a revolt with his son. Note that his guards were from the region which eventually became Iran and Syria. This is the reason and the spectre that is responsible for the state of the Islamic religion ending up as twisted as it has become. The twister was hiding behind it, a spell of stone structure that caught him off guard, sealed him in 4 walls of stone surrounded by a maze of stone labyrinth in all 4 directions, and a spell of a stone giant's hands that grabbed the structure and dragged it under the sands, where I froze time and placed him in between the passage from 1 second to the next, buried beneath the desert near a city called Aden, but in modern day I believe it became known as Irem. He tried to climb a pyramid-like structure with his mystic stones of power he had crafted, or the Shinkawa stones. If he had made it to the top, he would have used them to bind the creator, but I appeared at the top through astral projection and kicked him down and told him that every failure he ever experienced would come about by my hand. He tried to take an innocent girl's life hostage by pulling her in through her dreams, but I cut his ties to her and took her safely back to her era and left her next to her bed to safely awaken. I returned, but along the way was joined by God and Mikhail, stating that he had caused quite a problem with his stones in the garden and during the flood. We sat down in the desert and God said, "The gift of life I gave to you, and now that gift I take back." He breathed into the sands, and the life's breath of Sargon, he said, left him, and he turned back into dust. Sargon let out 5 spells before his end as he fell from the pyramid. 2 I deflected, 3 got through. I found out later, that same hour that had all happened, that my daughter had unknowingly went into labor and lost both children during childbirth. I cannot be for sure, but considering the time frame. Regardless, the loss of my grandchildren came, as she states, at the hands of the doctors who, against standard procedure and protocol for breech birth labor, refused to perform a cesarean procedure, and it cost the lives of both infants who died during childbirth. My anger, of course, was nothing short of standard to my reputation. Off the coast of California, a massive thunderstorm formed and slammed into LA, the likes of which it has never seen. 1,500 lightning strikes in 5 minutes of it coming ashore, one of which struck an airplane as it was taking off from the ground. You see, the father of my would-be grandchildren lived there. That storm went on to become the first in recorded history land-based hurricane. Hurricane Ulma formed into a Category 4 hurricane over the desert of Arizona and Texas, and continuing on up the central United States, causing the worst catastrophe by storm since Hurricane Katrina, which incidentally was another storm I created. This is my testimony as one of the 2 witnesses. I know my calling now and am stepping forward. All who have stood against me have not prevailed yet, and I stand for the true God and not that deceiving bastard of my future incarnation. He has since tried to manifest the essences from the fabrics of the universe of all that encompass the emotions and actions of sin, specifically greed, gluttony and wrath, and they crafted a false prophet impostor of me and called him Samael. I expelled the manifestations of sin back into the fabrics of space after stopping his plans of changing the final conflict into the apocalypse through a joint effort of both heaven and hell. Samael was cast into hell where he is closely watched. Currently he has made his move to take the throne of hell by rebuilding the Tower of Babylon here on earth to bridge the gateway from hell to earth. Heaven was not the only place the tower was built to reach. Currently he has called forth 3 from the seals of Solomon: Osiris, Baal and Nestoth, who was the demon of Solomon's ring, to try another attack strategy. The only way to end this is to destroy the emerald tablets and the Shinekar stones to sever his ties to this world, much like the show Supernatural implies. I have tried warning the world and the orders of religions that were erected to stand against these specific forces of darkness, but last time my warning fell on deaf ears of disbelief. Let us pray that does not happen again. In this time both myself and the other witness have come under attack from his dark forces, in attacks both against our loved ones and attacks against our character. Ensure, as the prophecy states, that those attackers against the other witness have met a similar fate as my enemies have. The other witness is known as A.G. Christie, maker of the videos for the Ancient Mystery YouTube channel. I will not mention his real name for obvious reasons. I know he is the second witness because of a vision he said that he had that I was told would mark his identity. A vision of Numbers 1333, which was the year the first Templar temple was built in Toma, Portugal, and comes with a message only he can decipher. D.